There is a version of you that used to laugh at the wrong times. Ask questions nobody else was brave enough to ask. Say the true thing out loud while everyone else in the room stayed quiet. That version of you is gone now. Or hiding. Most people call this growing up. Psychology has a different name for it. It calls it the death of the fool. Every one of us is born with him. A part of the mind that has no filter, no shame, no interest in looking smart. He says what he sees. He asks what he wants to know. He doesn't calculate the cost of being laughed at because he hasn't learned yet that laughter can be used as a weapon. Then the world gets to him. By the time most people reach adulthood, the fool has been buried under a decade of corrections. Don't say that. Don't ask that. You'll embarrass yourself. And somewhere in there, a person who used to speak without fear learns to check every sentence before it leaves his mouth. This is not maturity. This is a small execution that happens quietly, one flinch at a time. For centuries, cultures understood something we've forgotten. Kill the fool completely, and you don't get a wise adult. You get a hollow one. That's why every royal court in history kept one alive on purpose. The court jester wasn't hired to be stupid. He was hired to say the one thing that could get anyone else in that room killed. Kings surrounded themselves with people who lied to them constantly, out of fear, out of ambition, out of the simple human need to survive proximity to power. The fool was the only person allowed to tell the king the truth, not because he was protected by kindness, because he was protected by being beneath notice. A man in a costume with bells on his hat is easy to dismiss. Right up until the thing he said turns out to be the only honest sentence spoken in that castle all year. Some of them miscalculated. Some told a truth too sharp, to a king too proud, and lost their heads for it. The fool has always known this deal. Say the true thing, risk everything. Say nothing and slowly disappear. Most people choose to disappear. There's a darker reading of this than the one you usually hear. We like to imagine the fool as harmless, charming, a little naive, but look closer at where he actually stands, always at the edge. The tarot card doesn't show him safely on a path. It shows him one step from a cliff, looking up at the sky, not down at his feet. He isn't wise despite this. He's dangerous because of it. He has stopped calculating risk. And a person who has stopped calculating risk is either about to fall to his death or about to do the one thing that changes everything. That's the trade. Nobody talks about it honestly. To keep the fool alive in you is to keep a small, permanent willingness to lose everything for the sake of the truth. Most adults make a different trade without ever admitting they made it. They kill the fool quietly, and in exchange, they get safety, comfort. Nobody laughing at them in a meeting, nobody thinking they're strange, and they call this peace. It isn't peace. It's a slower kind of suffering, one that doesn't announce itself. Look at what happens to the ones who don't make that trade. In one of the darkest character studies ever written, a man is dismissed by everyone around him as an idiot. Not cruelly, casually. The way you'd describe weather. He's too honest, too easily read. He has no defenses because he never built any. And because of this, he sees straight through everyone in every room he enters. The greed, the performance, the small cruelties everyone else has learned to overlook because overlooking them is easier. He is the only sane person in a house full of liars. And the price of his sanity is that everyone calls him broken. This is the part nobody wants to sit with. Being the one who tells the truth doesn't make people grateful. It makes them uncomfortable. And discomfort, in most rooms, gets punished faster than dishonesty ever does. There's an old story about a fire breaking out backstage in a theater. A clown runs out to warn the audience. They laugh. They think it's part of the show. He warns them again, more urgently. They laugh harder, louder, and applaud. That's not a story about a clown. That's a story about what happens to the truth when it's delivered by someone the room has already decided not to take seriously. This is the real function of the fool, and it's colder than the version you're usually given. He isn't just comic relief. He is often the only one who sees the fire. And the tragedy is not that he doesn't know how to warn people. The tragedy is that he does, and it doesn't matter. So why does the archetype survive, generation after generation, if the ending is usually this bleak? Because burying the fool doesn't actually get rid of him. It just changes where he goes. He doesn't disappear when you silence him. He goes underground into the part of the mind that still remembers what it felt like to speak without fear. And from down there, he starts to leak out sideways. As bitterness. As envy toward people who still say what they think. As a strange, aching restlessness that shows up at 2 a.m. for no reason you can name. This is what it costs to keep him buried forever. He doesn't go quietly. He waits. There's a reason the myths never end with the fool dead. They end with him returning, usually at the exact moment everything has fallen apart, and the wise people in the story have failed to fix it. In one old legend, a kingdom is left wounded, its ruler dying slowly of an injury that never heals and never kills him. Every clever advisor, every trained expert, every strong knight fails to save him. It takes a fool, someone too naive to know he wasn't supposed to succeed, to walk in and ask the one honest question nobody else thought to ask. The moment he asks it, the wound closes. Not because the fool was smarter, because he was the only one left who hadn't learned to stop asking. That's the part worth sitting with. Somewhere in you, there is a wound that has been open for years. And the reason it hasn't healed isn't that you lack the intelligence to fix it. It's that you buried the one part of yourself that was ever brave enough to ask the question that would actually heal it. The fool is not the part of you that embarrasses you. He is the part of you that was never afraid to find out the truth, no matter what it cost. Somewhere along the way, you learned that silence was safer. You learned to read the room, soften your questions, keep the sharp things unsaid. And in exchange for that safety, something in you went quiet that was never supposed to go quiet. He is still there, waiting at the edge of the cliff, looking up, not down. The only question left is whether you let him speak again, or whether you let him die completely and call it wisdom.